Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Betty Von Slappenheimer, and today I'm going to teach you a super easy 4-step method to cleaning the interior of your car. This video is being done by request, so shut up. And it's not going to be like the Detail Geek or one of the channels that does crazy, insane, like details. Those types of details take 12 plus hours, and many of my viewers just wanted to know how to handle the basics of an embarrassing car. So suck it. A large portion of my audience struggles with ADHD and autism, and it's extremely easy for somebody to look at something that's super cluttered or super dirty and then think of the process of cleaning that and make it way more complicated than it actually is. So let's break it down into really simple steps, and step one is just get all the crap out of the car. And I mean absolutely everything. We're going to pick up the trash and throw it away, and anything that is going to be kept can be piled to the side. We need to make sure that we're picking up by hand anything that can clog up a vacuum. So any big chunks of trash, candy, wrappers, your mom. So we're just going to throw all that away, and I typically just use a Walmart bag because there's not a lot of trash in my car. But this is my wife's car, so I may actually need to use an entire landfill to get all the crap out of hers. Now I would suggest making 2 piles of the stuff you're going to keep. Anything that goes back into the car, put in one pile. Anything that needs to be brought back inside, put that in another pile. Now an important note, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed by the amount of trash that's in your car, simply throw it away, like the whole car. Cars are notoriously cheap, like to the point of being disposable. So I typically throw my car away after about a month. And if you do that regularly, then you can save a ton of money on trash bags, because in essence, your car becomes the trash bag. The next step is to vacuum. Now I'm using a shop vac here because I'm better than you, but you can use a regular everyday vacuum cleaner. You just use the detachable hose. One of the reasons that I'm using a shop vac is because they suck so hard. And they're actually a lot more difficult to clog than a regular vacuum. I don't use any attachments on the end. I just leave that open. And what I'm going to do is scrub the area that I'm vacuuming because it will loosen up any dog hair, which this car has got a ton of dog hair in it, as well as any debris that's locked into the carpet, and it lets the vacuum do its thing a lot easier. An important note, the longer you do this, the cleaner the car will get. I personally am just doing this good enough. If you watch The Detail Geek, and if not, you should, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. He has talked about certain cars that were so bad that he's vacuumed them for upwards of 6+ hours. And trust me, you can tell that he put that type of work into his details. But for us, that's unreasonable. So it's perfectly normal and perfectly okay to get your car good enough without obsessing over getting every tiny little hair and crumb out of it. Another important note, when you're vacuuming the front of the car, put the seats all the way back so you can get underneath them way easier and you've got more room to work. When you work in the back seat, put the front seats all the way up as far as they'll go for the same reason. If your car has a funky smell to it, before you vacuum, like a couple hours before you vacuum, you can sprinkle the car with baking soda and that'll help absorb some of the stank. If your car is haunted, do not vacuum it. Vacuums make ghosts more powerful and you're better off just dousing the whole car in salt and then sets it on fire. Step 3 is to get any all-purpose cleaner that you want. I use Mr. Clean, but you can use whatever. It's the same stuff that you'd use to clean, say, a kitchen counter with. I would suggest not using Dawn Power Wash because as you scrub this, it's going to make suds. Most all-purpose cleaners that are meant for, say, kitchens won't suds up. And we're just going to spray every hard surface that isn't cloth and isn't glass, and we're just going to wipe down the whole interior of the car. All we're doing here is getting rid of dust, hair, oils from your hands and arms, and ectoplasm. Now, this car has leather seats, and they do make specialty leather cleaner. It's not necessary. Purists will tell you that you need a leather cleaner in order to clean leather seats, but it's sincerely not a big deal to just use all-purpose cleaner on those because we're going to condition them afterwards anyway. If your car has candy, like if you got kids that just smash candy all over the place, soak that down with your all-purpose cleaner and just let it sit for a while, like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then clean that off in layers. If there are currently kids in your car, spin kick them in the neck and tell them to get out. You're cleaning the car. This is no place for children. Then make them eat whatever candy they've smashed into the upholstery. You'll notice that I'm using microfiber cloths to do all this cleaning, but that's totally unnecessary for everything except the windows. Because we're just doing basic type of cleaning and we don't have to worry about streaks, we can use whatever type of rag we want. Dish rags, dish towels, a severed moose butt. When we get to the windows, it's a different story, and I'll explain that whenever we get there. So be patient, man. So I'm not going to count this step as a true step, but we're going to put it as an optional step. If you have Armor All or any other, they call it dressing, that's better than Armor All, which most car people will tell you that Armor All sucks and this thing's better and that thing's better. I just happen to have Armor All, so that's what I'm using. We're going to spray the rag directly instead of spraying this on the actual plastic, and then we're going to wipe down all the hard surfaces, and what that does is basically makes it shine for a little bit and then it dries matte. So they call it dressing because it basically just spruces up the plastic in your car. Now, a little bit of this goes a long way, so you don't want to saturate the whole car with it. Just get the rag wet enough to where whenever you wipe it, you can see where you wipe. Wipe. Yeah, wiping's pretty cool. Settle down, dumbass. Anyway, if you do this step, just don't get it on any glass. It's not going to hurt anything if you get it on the glass. It'll just make the glass a little bit harder to clean because this stuff is kind of oily. Now I'm going to throw in one more optional step. We'll call this step 3B. If your car has leather seats, it's a good idea to occasionally condition those. If you've ever gotten into a car with leather seats and they're all cracked, or it looks like they've got a bunch of old person wrinkles, that's probably because they were never really conditioned. I condition mine every time I do a deep clean, which is to say maybe once every 3 months. And all you do on this is the same thing that you did with the Armor All. You're just going to spray the rag and then wipe down the seats to where they're just a little bit wet. I do this on anything leather: the steering wheel, seats, the console, your mom. I'm sorry, I'll quit doing the your mom thing. One thing to be aware of: once you clean these seats with an all-purpose cleaner and then you condition them, they're going to be really slick. Not because of the oil in the conditioner, it'll dry fairly quickly. It'll be slick because all the dirt's gone from the seat. What was keeping you from sliding around before was just butt dirt. The dirt created a little bit of additional friction, which kind of held you in place. But once that's gone, you'll notice a distinct absence of butt friction, much like your mom. That's the last one. That's the last one. The fourth and final step is windows, and I'm going to tell you a really awesome window hack that I use for houses, cars, pretty much anything that has a window factory. The first is the chemical that I use. You're going to mix any container you want, any sprayer, with 30% alcohol. It doesn't matter what the strength of the alcohol is because this doesn't have to be precise. So 30% of the bottle with alcohol, 70% of the bottle with water, and then a couple drops of Dawn dish soap. Again, it does not have to be precise. Alcohol cleans windows better than anything, better than vinegar, better than ammonia. And if you have tinted windows, do not use Windex. Windex has ammonia in it, and ammonia and window tint do not mix. You can actually damage the tinting. In my experience, I've never had that happen with alcohol. You're just going to spray the window with that and then wipe it down with a microfiber towel. And then I use what's called a glass cloth. They're also known as ultra fine microfiber, and that will get rid of of any streaks. Now, if you don't have that fancy stuff, you can use the spray like I told you, and then use a dish rag or whatever to do the initial cleaning, but then dry it with a perfectly dry, clean towel right afterwards. It won't be quite as good and it won't be quite as easy as the method that I'm using here, but it will work. If you notice that you've got streaks after doing this, don't respray the windows with your chemicals. Just take a dry rag and just clean off the streaks with it. It's called a polishing step. Dry rags get rid of streaks way better than any chemical. And that's it. 4 easy steps. Now, there are tons and tons of chemicals you can get to help you with this process. There are all kinds of professional hacks and tricks that you can do. There are a million different techniques and little pieces of equipment that you can use. But if what you're going for is just to get your car unembarrassed, these are the techniques that I use. The whole process took me about an hour, and that was just because I spent a ton of time vacuuming. If you're new to the channel, this is not what I typically do. Normally, I clean hoarder homes for free, and I help people with disabilities and mental illness. My typical video is me cleaning extremely messy houses. So if you haven't seen those, go check them out. If you haven't subscribed yet, we're on our way to 1 million subscribers. And the number one thing that you can do to help the channel grow and for me to continue doing what I do is just to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Members, I will see you on Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.